Hello and welcome to 2018. Now, all the bullshit of the new year and blah 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 is done. It's time for us to get back to what we do, which is talk about music and review some music. So, there are some pretty heavy-hitting releases that we have right here during the first week of January, which is actually a little bit strange. It's not a typical thing. But we have one here in black metal that could be seen as very important and critical for the start of the year in the form of Watain and their brand new album Trident Eclipse, which, wow, okay, that's really random, not to mention really hard to say and remember. Apparently, maybe my mind just isn't what it used to be. I'm getting old. So, with their last couple of albums, Watain has kind of impressed a lot of people. They have really taken their black metal sound and added some things to it. They've given it some flavor infusers, including with their last album, even throwing in some clean vocals. And albums such as Sworn to the Dark and Lawless Darkness have been very well received, not only by critics, but also by fans, and it's gained this group a lot of attention, alongside of their, live act, but we won't talk about that. So with this album, the very first thing that's going to really floor you and kind of leave you scratching your head at the decision-making is the length of it. It's 8 tracks in its standard edition. There are deluxe editions that do add a couple of bonus tracks that do up the time, but within these 8 tracks, it's only 34 minutes. It doesn't even crack the 35-minute mark. So based on standard edition alone, this is the shortest Watain album. It is even shorter than their very first album, which feels like it came out 10,000 years ago. But that should also give you a little bit of an indicator of what the music is going to probably be like. Whereas with their last couple of albums, they have given their black metal some infusions of some death metal or even some progressive music, some doom. There has been just a little bit of everything sort of tossed in to give the album a little bit more of a variety approach. This is one that maintains raw and uncompromising black metal, and it's one that is not going to take its foot off of the gas throughout the entirety of the process. Nuclear Alchemy is going to give you a great snapshot of this in just 3 minutes and 3 seconds to start off this album. You will notice that with the quality of the production and the overall presentation of this, it resembles a buzzsaw, a literal buzzsaw of black metal that really comes right at you, it comes right for your throat, and it slashes and burns. It's not one that is going to really wait around for you to bleed out. It's just going to assume that you have. That steamroller effect is one thing that has given this album a really aggressive sort of approach, and it's going to leave a very aggressive feeling behind whenever you leave. That's kind of going to be its reputation, I feel, if it is widely spoken about as the months progress here in 2018. And really, songs such as Sacred Damnation and A Throne Below, which is the 5th track on this album, really do benefit from this because it does have a lot of approach tactics that buzzsaw effect really helps out with. The raw black metal sound is one that has been around for so long. I mean, ever since the original approach of the genre itself, and it's been modified and sort of carried out as its own little subgenre of black metal ever since in the decades that have followed. And it's one that is definitely not for everybody, but for those who are really a fan of the approach that this doesn't need a lot of production, it needs to be dusty, it needs to be dirty, grimy, it has to feel like you are literally in league with Satan and participating in a ritual, then this album has a lot of charm. It has a lot of things that are for you. The one thing that I feel is going to be kind of odd for modern fans of the band, the ones that perhaps have gotten into the group due to Sworn to the Dark or Lawless Darkness or, etc., it's going to leave them feeling like there was more to be grasped or more to be had. Either that or they're going to take that sort of traditional heavy metalist approach that it's fast, it's aggressive, it's uncompromising, it's evil as shit. It feels like there is absolutely no light that could be seen throughout any of this album. It's perfect. It's wonderful. And maybe it's because they do have an inexperience factor within the raw black metal genre. I like the Fire of Power, which is track 8, the last track of the standard edition of this disc. It's 4.5 minutes long. It's not even the longest track on the album, which is the track before it, which is Towards the Sanctuary, which is not even 5 minutes. No song cracks the 5-minute mark here, unless you get a deluxe edition. And then you get a track such as Antichrist Miracle, which is over 7 minutes in length, and really doesn't take the foot off the accelerator there either. Really, it maintains the same approach, but it's just a longer track, so compositionally speaking, not a lot of difference. but there's just more material there. But the firepower kind of does add a little bit of some of those twinges that you hear. There's a little bit more production here. There's a little bit of extra approach that's led into what could be considered a chorus, or at least a central portion of the song, something that is repeated. And I like the fact that it does leave you with something that is memorable. And it does give you that feeling of, hey, you know, I just listened to that album. That sure was a thing. That was Watain. That was, you know, Trident, Wolf, Eclipse. That is, yeah, I know this album because of that song. And that was really cool. That's a very good way to sort of let yourself go. But there's a lot of questions and kind of a lot of empty feeling that comes from this album whenever you leave it just the same. Even within that uncompromising, raw approach, even within all of that, it feels kind of like they turned back the clock a little bit, which is cool. You know, they went for some of their roots, but also that they abandoned one of the things that made them, or was making them, into a truly unique act within the black metal universe, and that was the fact that, compositionally speaking, and with the length of their material, they were really forging a unique style and really making themselves stand out, as opposed to just being another group that felt like they were kind of following within a vanilla construct. So this feels a little bit more like they are within that vanilla construct, that raw black metal, and so it doesn't shine or shimmer as quite as unique. And lost in all of this is some of the material itself, because it does have such a similar vein or a similar feel to it. There's not a lot of differentiation here, which for some is perfect, which for some is exactly what they want, but it does leave a lot of other folks kind of clamoring and wanting a little bit more. Not necessarily a bad album by any persuasion. Definitely not a black eye on black metal to begin 2018, but just an album that makes you wonder where this band is going in the future. If this is something where this return is marking where their next albums are going to be traversing, or if it's instead just a one-stop detour that was to kind of satisfy the writing style that was being felt at that time. And if that's the case, you can't really talk ill about it, because artists are going to write that which it is that they feel. But this is an album that still, I feel, is a 16 out of 30. It's still decent. That buzzsaw approach reminds me a little bit of Destroyer 666, only without the thrash, you know, the heavy thrash feeling in the background. It's instead a different approach. And the raw black metal, of course, reminds me of bands such as Vaughn, or groups of that variety, which Watain was, of course, influenced by, so it makes all the sense in the world. You can pick up this album, by the way, on the CK and Amazon page, which is down there in the description box below. They have some pretty cool options for it, including a great vinyl. So if you want to do that, then that's totally 100% on you, and it is down there for you. And I hope that you do give this album a purchase and listen to it for yourself and examine this for yourself. And once you do, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts about Watain's brand new album, Trident, Wolf, Eclipse, what you thought about it. Yeah, it's the brand new year, so of course I'm stumbling and bumbling because I haven't gotten the old lips back, or the voice back, or the tone back. So we'll see you next time. Take care.